Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've got a really strange one for you today. It's a story that comes from a set of documents, a private contract for a train conductor. A job that seemed way too good to be true.
Oh, it was. We're talking about astronomical pay for a single run, but that payment was tied to, well, to absolute and blind obedience.
And that's the hook, right?
Right.
What kind of job offers 6 times the standard salary for a freight conductor?
But requires you to have no company ID, to tell no one, and to follow a set of rules that seem designed to make you fail, or worse.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we're going to unpack the whole operation, the rules, the ride, and the
Yeah.
terrifying reason for it all.
And it starts with the recruiter. The notes describe him as having this flat, emotionless demeanor. They meet in a diner, not an office. The contract isn't even a real contract. It's just a string of numbers.
And one single bolded instruction right at the top.
The red button. Before you even know what the job is, you know there's a panic button. And it's not for emergencies. It's for when you break a rule.
What does that even signal? That they expect you to fail.
It signals that failure isn't the end. It's just the next step in their process. The focus from moment one is on control and consequence.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The conductor takes a job and is sent to this private station.
Yeah, if you can even call it that. Tucked away off a dead-end road, surrounded by rusted fences, collapsing sheds, it's a picture of total decay.
But the train itself is the complete opposite.
Completely. It's immaculate, sleek, modern, pristine. The documents mentioned the smell of fresh polish, like it had just rolled off the assembly line. It looked like it had never, ever been used.
This perfect machine in a place that's literally falling apart. And on the console, a laminated sheet of paper.
The rules.
And these rules are, they're an immediate assault on his professional training, on reality itself.
Like rule number 1.
The train must never stop, for any reason whatsoever. Then there's rule 3. Do not open the doors, and if you hear knocking from inside a car you know is empty, ignore it.
But the one that really gets me is rule 4. If someone appears on the tracks, you do not slow down. You accelerate if you have to, and crucially, you do not look at them in the rearview mirror after.
I mean, for a conductor, hitting the brakes is instinct. It's the law. This job required him to just plow through a person.
According to his notes, he just scoffed. He figured it had to be a joke, some over-the-top psychological test to make sure he was paying attention.
Just a sick joke, yeah. But for that kind of money, he decided he'd play along.
And for the first hour, it's fine. Deceptively easy, quiet engine, smooth ride, almost too easy. And then the first test begins.
The intercom.
Right. A sharp burst of static. Just static, no voice. But rule 6 is very clear. He has to press the button and say, "We are on schedule."
Into the silence.
Into the silence. And then he's required to maintain 5 minutes of absolute silence himself. No noise at all.
And during those 5 minutes, things get weird. The documents describe this physical sensation, a sinking feeling in his stomach, his head starts ringing.
And the air in the cabin gets thick, charged like the moments before a thunderstorm. It's a sensory attack, It's designed to destabilize you, to prime you for what comes next.
And what comes next is the figure on the track.
Exactly. As soon as the 5 minutes are up, he sees him, a man standing right on the rails ahead. The description is odd loose, billowing clothes that seem to blur at the edges.
So this is it. The moment the sick joke becomes real, his hand flies towards the brake.
But he stops himself. Rule 4, don't slow down. He's going 95 miles an hour, and he just closes his eyes and holds on.
And the impact.
There isn't one. No sound, no jolt, nothing. The train goes straight through the figure as if it were smoke.
Wow. How do you even process that?
You don't. You can't. He immediately rationalizes it. A trick of the light, fatigue, nerves, anything but the truth. The rule, this insane rule, it forced him to build a mental wall against what he just saw.
But the system doesn't let him off the hook.
Not for a second. A few minutes later, he glances at the passenger monitors for the cars behind him. They're all supposed to be empty.
But one of them isn't.
One of them isn't. There's a figure sitting in a chair. It's the man from the tracks. Same blurry, loose clothes.
Which brings up rule 7. One of the train cars will be filled with passengers. Do not acknowledge them.
See? The system presented an impossible event, the man on the tracks, and then immediately integrated the impossible result. The man now on the train into the next rule, it's a confirmation. Whatever this is, it doesn't play by the laws of physics.
So now he's just trapped, driving a train where reality has fallen apart, and the only way to survive is to pretend he doesn't see it.
And that enforced denial is what leads to the breaking point, the fatal mistake.
The knocking.
The knocking. It starts soft, tap, 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 then it gets louder, bam, bam, bam. a desperate, frantic hammering on the door to car 6.
Rule 3, ignore it. But he's exhausted, he's on edge, and frankly, he's irritated. He decides he's going to prove it's nothing.
A terrible decision. He opens the door to car 6. And the car is empty. But there are muddy footprints. Clear, wet, muddy footprints leading from the door he just opened across the floor and under the door to the next car.
Oh no. So something was there.
And the moment he realizes that, the train's systems respond. Before he can even get the door shut, he's thrown off balance. The train is slowing down on its own.
Even with the throttle wide open?
Throttle is maxed out, all systems green, but the train just stops, dead on the tracks. The system took control away from him.
And then the intercom crackles.
That warped, distorted voice comes on. Why did you stop? And then a moment later, you broke a rule.
And that's when the boarding starts.
That's the consequence. A mechanical hiss, and all the train doors open on their own, and out of the darkness along the tracks, figures start to emerge. Dozens of them.
What do they look like?
Tall, thin, and they moved with this unnatural, slow, stretching gait. They just file onto the train, filling all the empty cars, and then they just stand there, motionless.
Okay, now it's pure panic. He finally slams the red button.
Right. And the voice on the intercom gives him his new instruction. Do not acknowledge them. Keep driving until the last stop. And just like that, the train lurches back to life, accelerating into the night.
But the tests aren't over. They get worse.
Much worse. Now the system is just layering on the psychological pressure. A second train suddenly appears, running parallel to his.
But there are no parallel tracks out there.
There are no parallel tracks, and this other train is keeping perfect pace. Its windows are filled with dozens of dark figures, and they're all staring at him.
And they're all
wearing the exact same wide, fixed grin.
That is terrifying. And there's a rule for this, too.
Rule 9. He's allowed to look at it, but for no more than 10 seconds at a time. It suggests that looking any longer invites something, that it creates some kind of connection you don't want.
But even that isn't the worst part of the ride. The real climax is the blackout. Rule 5.
At exactly 2:13 a.m., the cabin has a mandatory blackout. All lights, all screens, everything goes out for 3 minutes. And right before it happens, the voice on the intercom says one thing.
Do not move.
Absolute darkness. Absolute silence. He can't see, he can't move. And then he hears it. A slow, dragging, scraping sound inside the cabin with him. Not footsteps. A scrape.
Oh, come on.
Then wheezing, a heavy, staggered breathing. The cabin fills with this thick, humid heat that just sticks to his skin. And the smell?
What smell?
Sharp and medicinal, but also like burnt plastic and harsh chemicals. It's an absolute sensory assault. And he is pinned in his chair, unable to react.
And it gets closer.
He hears a clawed hand scrape against the console right next to him. Then he feels it brush against his shoulder. 3 minutes of pure physical terror. And his only job is to not exist. To dissociate so completely that he becomes part of the chair.
And then at 2.1 cent.
Exactly. At 2.1 sinks, the lights come back on, and it's gone. The air is clear. The smell is gone. It was real, but the system's rules saved him by turning him into a statue.
I can't imagine that. And that's the final horror.
Almost. The display flashes final stop arrival imminent. He's relieved. He's pulling into the station. He reaches for the brakes.
And they're not there.
They're gone. The lever is dead. The train is actually accelerating uncontrollably toward the platform. He just has time to brace himself before a deafening crash. Shattering glass, ripping metal, he's thrown forward into darkness.
So you crashed in the train.
He thinks he did. He wakes up, bruised, expecting to see a wreck. But the cabin is pristine. Perfect. The train is parked neatly at the platform, engine humming softly.
The crash never happened.
It happened in his head. Or somewhere. It was the system's final violent reset button. And when he looks back at the passenger cars, they're all empty. The figures are gone.
I love him.
All but one. The man from the tracks. The first one. He stands up, and the document notes his proportions seem wrong. His face is featureless. He walks to the conductor's door, which has been locked this whole time. He just opens it effortlessly. He looks at the conductor and says one thing. Thank you for the ride.
He steps out onto the platform.
Where the recruiter is waiting for him, perfectly calm, smiling. He just looks at the conductor and asks, what did you think of the job?
Unbelievable. What happens then? The conductor just quits. Right.
Quits on the spot, shaken, horrified. He demands to know what that was. What was he doing? And the recruiter, without skipping a beat, just says it.
You were transporting the dead.
It wasn't a freight run. It was a ritual. The conductor was just a facilitator, a human component whose only job was to ignore reality so that this transfer could take place.
The rules weren't safety protocols. They were a user manual for enabling the paranormal, forcing a state of dissociative compliance.
Exactly. The whole thing, even the fake crash at the end, was designed to enforce a mental state, to use a human being to bridge some gap between their world and ours.
So that leaves you, the listener, with a really disturbing thought. This was a system designed to break a person's mind for a purpose, and it offered an incredible reward to do so.
So how much of your own reality, your own sanity, would you be willing to trade for that kind of compensation? At what point would you finally decide to hit your own personal red button?